After being reborn, I gave my best friend the chance to save the rich second generation. My best friend accompanied me to an interview at a top 100 company. By chance, we encountered a young man who fainted from heatstroke. While I was calling 120 and buying a bottle of water, my best friend disappeared. Later, she was hired by the company. Sorry. I originally wanted to buy you some time. Unexpectedly, the HR just hired me. My best friend showed off all day long with her high salary and good treatment. However, I never expected that the young man I saved was a tall, rich, and handsome guy. To express his gratitude, he gave me luxury cars and mansions and even made a high-profile confession. Before long, I became my best friend's boss. My best friend couldn't bear the gap and, like crazy, hugged me and jumped off the rooftop. When I opened my eyes, I was back in that scorching summer day again. This time, my best friend, with a look of pity, wiped the sweat off the young man's face and kindly urged me, "Hurry up and go to the interview. I'll handle this." Without saying a word, I turned around readily. She probably didn't know that the thing I regretted the most in my last life was saving this man. Why is there such a huge difference just because of one choice? Why am I not as lucky as you? My best friend Mia, with red eyes, hugged me tightly and fell from the 32nd floor. The cold wind howled wildly in my ears. After a loud thud, I suddenly opened my eyes. On the street under the scorching sun, a young man was lying there. Everything in front of me seemed so familiar. Oh, someone has heat stroke. Just as I realized that I was reborn, Mia held an umbrella and ran over. She was in such a hurry that she almost sprained her ankle. Mia squatted on the ground, wiped the sweat off the young man's face, poured mineral water into the bottle cap, and fed it to the young man's mouth. She also didn't forget to wave at me. "Arya, go to the interview quickly. I guess it'll take a while for the 120 to arrive. Your job opportunity is hard won. I'll take care of this." I was stunned. In my last life, she complained that it was too hot and told me not to meddle in other people's business. She was reluctant to take out the water in her pocket and asked me to buy it. As a result, she went for the interview while I was buying water. I couldn't get through to her on the phone and thought she had something urgent. When the 120 arrived, I rushed to the company sweating profusely, only to find out that my best friend who accompanied me to the interview had been hired. She said that she wanted to buy me time, but unexpectedly, my name was called soon. The job treatment was so good that she thought it would be a pity to waste the opportunity, and then she was hired on the spot. Although I felt uncomfortable, I thought that even if I had come for the interview myself, I might not have passed it. She was my good friend, and I thought it was better for the opportunity to stay within our circle, so I didn't pursue the matter. Unexpectedly, after she joined the company, she kept showing off to me how good her job was, full of a sense of superiority. Until the young man I saved used his connections to make me her superior leader, she was dumbfounded. That day, she, like crazy, hugged me and jumped off the rooftop. The biting cold wind seemed to be still roaring in my ears. So Mia was also reborn. But she didn't know that. The decision I regretted the most in my last life was giving up the interview to save this man. Since God gave me a chance to start over, I must seize this opportunity and live my life again. 13 people have already gone in. Could it be that the candidates have been predetermined long ago? In the waiting room of Fusion Group, there were dozens of people waiting to interview for the position of product planner. With good treatment and only one round of interviews, everyone was restless. Perhaps because I had died once, I was completely calm inside. "Next, Arya." I followed the assistant into the interview room. There was only one HR in the room. In my last life, although I entered the company through the back door, I still knew a little about the company and him. This HR didn't look at educational background during interviews but only focused on abilities. "My name is Arya. These are my works in the 5 years since I graduated. I've benchmarked against 6 companies, and the products of 5 of them sold very well. These are the real-time sales data." My 3-minute introduction was comprehensive, thorough, fluent, and concise. After all, I had practiced with Mia for several days before, otherwise, she wouldn't have memorized it. Nor would she have changed the name on my resume and said those words to get hired. "Ms. Arya, I'm very curious about the reasons for the failure of that company's product." The HR pushed his glasses and looked at me with great interest. I shrugged embarrassedly. It wasn't a failure in planning. Mainly, on the day the product was launched for sale, their company was reported for tax evasion. The HR was stunned. He nodded at me, his eyes full of delight. Right after the interview, the assistant informed me that I was hired and asked me to report on time 3 days later. I nodded calmly, but actually, I was extremely happy inside. Mia was waiting for me at the entrance of the building. Hearing that I was successful in the interview, she pretended to offer her congratulations and didn't forget to make self-deprecating remarks. "You're the one who's going to achieve great things." Unlike me, I had to be a good Samaritan on such a hot day, and my skin almost peeled off from the sun. Even though she said that, there was a look of joy on her face. We got on the subway. There were quite a few people on the subway. Mia covered her nose with a look of disgust all over her face. I really hope that the person I saved is a Prince Charming, so that he can rescue me from this stinky sweat. The two men beside her gave her unfriendly looks. However, Mia was looking down at her phone and didn't care at all. Suddenly, she grabbed my arm. Hey, Arya, the person in this video seems to be you. In the video titled, The Kindness of a Beautiful-Hearted Person versus the Indifference of Turning a Blind Eye to Someone in Danger, Mia took good care of the young man with heatstroke and became a female bodhisattva in the comment section. While I just stood aside, indifferent, and was accused of being cold and heartless one after another, Mia thought that I would defend myself like she did and make a fool of myself. But I didn't say a word and just silently took off my high heels. What are you doing? I'm tired. Just loosening my feet. Mia was a bit disappointed to see that I wasn't provoked. When we got off the subway, she looked around, seeming a bit absent-minded. What are you looking for? Mia avoided my gaze. Nothing. Just then, a chubby man came down from the back door. He was carrying a big Chinese cabbage and quickly walked towards us. Mia reacted quickly and swiftly dodged to one side. The man glared at me and raised the cabbage. Ah! Before the cabbage was lifted above his head, it fell to the ground. He covered his elbow and wailed in pain. There was a deep red mark on it pierced by my high heel. I calmly put on my shoes and called the staff. Before long, he was subdued. This man had some mental problems and always claimed to be a justice messenger. In my last life, after watching the video, he had an episode and smashed the Chinese cabbage on Mia's head, almost giving her a concussion. I had even forgotten about this matter. I just remembered it when I saw him on the subway just now. Mia was even more disappointed to see that I wasn't hit like she was. I didn't pay attention to this news either. Mia was rather kind-hearted and sent a Weibo post to clarify, "You've misunderstood. My best friend was just in a hurry to go to the interview. As long as that young man is okay, that's all that matters." I knew that she just wanted the rich second-generation Sebastian to notice her when the popularity was at its peak. After joining the company, I got familiar with the work environment, and Mia didn't send me many messages. Unexpectedly, less than a week later, just as I got off work, a sports car stopped in front of me. The car window was rolled down, and Mia pretended to be angry. "Arya, you really value work more than friends. Come on, let's go out for dinner." Sebastian in the driver's seat looked like a gentleman. He smiled at me. "Since you're my savior's friend, you're also my friend. Don't be polite." My heart tightened. I hadn't seen her for a few days, and she was already in his car and became his friend. How fast? "Thank you, but no need. I've already made an appointment with someone." Mia pursed her lips and didn't insist. She tossed her hair. "Then don't force Arya. She's been thrifty since she was a child. She'll feel uncomfortable sitting in such a nice car." The subway entrance was 15 minutes away from the company. Just as I crossed the road, raindrops started falling from the clear sky. Moreover, it was pouring down, getting heavier and heavier, so suddenly that I was caught off guard. There was no shelter around, so I put my bag over my head and ran quickly. I tried to stop a taxi, but the taxi didn't stop and even splashed water all over me. At this time, a Rolls-Royce was driving slowly along the roadside. I was full of anger and thought that if he dared to splash water on me, I'd scold him. Unexpectedly, the car slowly stopped in front of me. Ethan was chewing gum and beckoned to me. The rain was too heavy, so I don't care too much and quickly got into the car. "It's a good thing you came. Otherwise, I'd be soaked to the skin." He chuckled. "I got off work early and happened to be here at the right time." He still had that carefree look from school days, which didn't match his police uniform at all. "Since I gave you a love letter 8 years ago, you've never taken the initiative to find me and always ignored me when we talked. Why do you suddenly want to find me now? 8 years ago? A love letter? For me?" I was completely confused. "Yeah, I asked Mia to give it to you. Did you really forget or are you just pretending?" Ethan was Mia's secret crush. Back then, his name was written all over her notebook. Mia even got a tattoo for him. So, I didn't know anything about the love letter. Well, she didn't give it to me. Ethan was stunned, and there was an awkward silence for a few seconds. Fortunately, we arrived downstairs at my house. I changed into clean clothes and went to the restaurant with him. Hearing that I was going to help him with an investigation, Ethan was very surprised. "Why are you helping me? Could it be that, didn't realize how good the school bully was back then, and now I want to go back to him?" I almost spat my coffee on his face. At this time, Mia sent a video call. While Sebastian was in the bathroom, she couldn't help showing off to me crazily. "Arya, you look at this table full of sashimi, this is the 82-year-old Lafite, and the newly bought LV bag. You didn't come when I asked you to. I'm telling you, the person I saved is really a Prince Charming." Seeing that I was also in a restaurant, she looked disdainful. "Are you on a blind date? Which oddball is it this time? Bald or greasy? Let me take a peek secretly." To avoid being urged to get married, I had indeed gone on a few blind dates. Mia often took my embarrassing moments as fun. Seeing Ethan's curious look, I really wanted to hang up the phone. But Mia was still useful, so I had to patiently explain. It's not a blind date. It's an old classmate. Already on a blind date with an old classmate? Let me see which classmate is so special. You don't even dare to show me. Ethan had become a lot more steady. He calmly ate the cake with a smile on his face. Alright, if you're too embarrassed to show me, then forget it. Don't get angry. In a couple of days I'll ask Sebastian to introduce you to a rich second generation in their circle. Before I could say anything, Ethan snatched my phone. Long time no see. Mia, who had been chattering nonstop, suddenly fell silent. When did you two get together? There seemed to be a bit of complaint in her tone. The word "get together" sounds so bad. How could I have ideas about the boyfriends of my sisters? Don't talk nonsense. We're not together. The two of them almost said it at the same time. Perhaps Sebastian came back, and Mia was afraid that I would say something else, so she hung up the phone in a hurry. It was late at night. I tossed and turned in bed, unable to fall asleep. Mia sent another video call. Arya, you don't know how generous Sebastian is. He gave gifts and even gave me the key to his villa. Wait a minute. I'm just going to the bathroom. I'll take you on a tour. She turned the camera around. The lights were dazzling, there were leather sofas, the decoration was exquisite, and it was magnificent. It takes 5 or 8 minutes to walk from the bedroom to the bathroom. For the sake of our good relationship, I'll be kind and let you come and stay for a few nights. Look at you. Your eyes are wide open. She shook the camera and didn't forget to ask me, how is it? Big, right? I wiped the sweat from my palms. Yes, it was really big. So big that it took half an hour for Sebastian to drag me from the bathroom to the bedroom, with my body covered in blood. However, Mia didn't notice my expression. She was extremely proud. Sebastian is so thoughtful. I mentioned that I wanted to work with you and he said that the company you're in is run by his uncle. He'll arrange for me to join in a couple of days. Don't worry. If I become your superior leader, I'll take good care of you. In the next few days, I worked hard seriously, while Mia was busy posting on moments. Luxury goods, jewelry, delicious food. Our mutual friends joked and asked her if she had hooked up with a rich guy. She was rather reserved. I wouldn't say he's a rich guy. He's just a rich second generation and he hasn't agreed yet. Men won't cherish it if they get it too early. I'm still testing him. I just smiled and didn't say anything. These days, all the miscellaneous tasks in my hands were completed, and I was feeling bored. President Sebastian called us to the conference room for a meeting. Company came a headache client, Uncle Jason. His family was in the curtain business, and a manufacturer had customized a large batch of goods. The quantity was so large that it could buy another factory. Uncle Jason was very serious about this business, and he was very particular about the choice of fabric materials. Logically speaking, this batch of goods was of good quality and low price, and it could be a win-win cooperation. However, a fatal error occurred. The initial mold size was too small. As a result, this batch of curtains was completely ruined. Uncle Jason asked our boss to come up with a plan to sell them at a low price to get some money back and then announce the closure of the factory. The plan was simple. However, the difficulty lies in that if it's done, his company will go bankrupt and our company's reputation will be damaged as well. The key point is that Uncle Jason had met our boss once, and he couldn't refuse. Several senior planners didn't want to take on this task either and pushed it to me on the pretext of being busy. Why don't we let Arya have a try? Didn't she make several products successful? President Sebastian had a gloomy face. She's just an intern. Can she do it? Uncle Jason also understood the situation and waved his hand. Forget it if she can't. Uncle won't force you. Just sell them slowly. It's just that I've worked hard for most of my life for nothing. Sigh. He looked haggard and disappointed and was about to leave. I stood up. President Sebastian, I can give it a try. President Sebastian's face looked a bit worse, but he couldn't say anything due to face. However, his eyes seemed to want to fire me on the spot. Of course, Mia didn't step forward in my last life. It was just that later she told me about this matter, and I was a bit curious. So I spent some time thinking about it. Although that plan was just on paper back then. But now, here was the chance for practice. Everything in the world has its value. The fabric was man-made. Since people could turn the fabric into curtains, they could still turn the curtains into something else. In my plan, I turned part of the fabric into radiator covers. There wasn't much of a market for this in the South. But in the North, every household has radiators, and it's common for them to get dusty. Then I carried out publicity in operation. Because the fabric was of high quality and the patterns were exquisite, it achieved very good results. Then all the curtains were processed and reformed, and the market was opened up. Uncle Jason's company didn't close down but instead started operating again. This matter even became a hot topic on Weibo and was considered as an advertisement for the group. The boss praised me in front of the whole company and then called me to the conference room. Here's the silk banner sent by Uncle Jason, the tea set I bought on a business trip, and at the end of the month, I'll ask the personnel department to add a bonus for you as an encouragement. I just accepted it when the secretary knocked on the door. President Sebastian is here. Mia followed Sebastian into the room. Uncle, this is my friend. She's looking for a job. He saw me at once, what a coincidence. Her best friend is also here. How about arranging them in the same department? The secretary was in a dilemma. The planners in the human resources department have been recruited full. Currently, there's only a department manager position left. Mia was overjoyed. But she still pretended to be a bit hesitant. Sebastian, it's not so good to be a manager right after joining the company, is it? Sebastian patted her hand to comfort her. It doesn't matter. My uncle will find someone to guide you. President Sebastian swiveled his chair, his eyes fixed on Mia. Having someone to guide you is certain. However, do you have any outstanding achievements? Mia shook her head. But without ability, it's hard to convince others. She was stunned. I smiled. Do you want to enter the company by relying on connections? Although President Sebastian is Sebastian's uncle, he's an old hand in the business and doesn't keep idle people around. In my last life, before I entered the company, he was extremely picky about me. If it hadn't been for seeing that I had some abilities, he would have rejected me. However, it has nothing to do with me now. I was about to leave with my things. Unexpectedly, I was stopped just as I lifted my foot. Arya, I've always cherished talented people. You're so young but have unique insights and a promising future. Well, starting from today, you'll be the department manager. Well? Sebastian's friend, aren't you Arya's good friend? Let Arya guide you. When you achieve something in the future, your uncle will definitely promote you. The secretary whispered, promoting an intern to a department manager directly is really an exception. Mia's face looked extremely ugly. Sebastian pulled her, and Mia reluctantly accepted. Okay, then thank you, uncle, first. After leaving the conference room, Sebastian left first because he had something to do. I took Mia to our workstations and told her about the scope of our daily work. She was a bit impatient and looked around. At this time, the vice president handed me a stack of materials. Arya, congratulations on your quick promotion. These are new projects. You distribute them to everyone. The Huahai amusement project has several big companies competing fiercely for it, but they have more confidence in our company. I hope your department can successfully win it. As soon as the vice president left, Mia begged me. Arya, I entered the company through connections. I want to take on a big project to boost my reputation. Can you let me work on this one with you? Just as I expected. She really entered the company for this project. After hearing this, several colleagues were a bit unhappy. Why should the newcomer choose the project first? Stop arguing. She entered the company through connections. Let her have it. In fact, these people didn't want to take on this big project either, so they just took advantage of the situation. Mia didn't have a good relationship with these people in her last life. But at this time, she looked generous. Well, when the plan is almost completed, I'll treat everyone to karaoke. In the following period of time, Mia received so many gifts that her hands were almost tired, but she still remained reserved and didn't give Sebastian an answer. She was seriously learning about the project, creating an image of a strong career woman, which made Sebastian even crazier about her. He came to wait for Mia downstairs at the company every day, and the colleagues were all extremely envious. Soon, a month passed. With everyone's joint efforts, the planning for the Huahai project was almost completed. Mia also fulfilled her promise and took us to sing karaoke. In the KTV, Mia was sending messages to Sebastian, with a sweet smile on her face. She rushed to pay the bill, was generous in spending, and instantly improved her relationship with several colleagues. Hearing that Sebastian was chasing her, the colleagues were all envious. However, Mia, rich second-generation people are usually fickle. You should be careful. Mia held the sports car key and seemed to be thinking about something. An old employee curled his lips. Sebastian is a devoted man. His ex-girlfriend died 6 years ago, and he hasn't been in a relationship since then. Could he lack women? But in these 6 years, he has never made any woman public, let alone given cars or houses to anyone. I think since you saved his life, he has opened his heart to you. Mia was extremely happy and drank a glass of red wine in one gulp. She shook her head and looked at me. Arya, do you think Sebastian is better than Ethan? By the way, I still want to tell you that Ethan's parents are intellectuals. They may not approve of you. You don't have to bet on your own happiness just to annoy me. I snorted coldly. She really overestimated herself. She was already having a good thing but was afraid that others would covet it. When we were leaving the KTV, Ethan was leaning casually against his Rolls-Royce smoking a cigarette. Under the street lamp, he looked laid back and lazy. Wow, a handsome guy. Several colleagues around were all infatuated. Mia hadn't seen Ethan for many years. She looked at me with a bit of jealousy in her eyes. Is he here for you? No, he's here for you. Ethan interrupted her. The colleagues all exclaimed in surprise. Mia, you're so amazing. How come all the guys you know are rich and handsome? Ethan stubbed out his cigarette and curled his lips. Don't misunderstand. I just want to ask you why you intercepted the love letter I gave to Arya back then? Could it be that you had a secret crush on me? Ethan smiled mischievously, and Mia was a bit embarrassed. The colleagues around were all watching the drama. At this time, a person got out of the sports car parked on the other side of the KTV. It was Sebastian. He elegantly handed a big bunch of roses to Mia and looked at her short skirt. You're wearing so little. Won't your legs be cold? Get in the car. Mia was relieved from the awkward situation and immediately hooked her arm around his. Oh, I forgot to introduce. This is Sebastian, my boyfriend. Today is the day when we officially established our relationship. You're all our witnesses. Sebastian smiled happily. He went back to the car to get some small gifts and gave them to us one by one. I hope you can take good care of Mia in the future. The colleagues were all extremely envious. He walked over and offered Ethan a cigarette. Ethan didn't take it. He put his coat on me. Brother, don't think too much. I don't have any ideas about your girlfriend. I didn't in high school, and I don't now either. Who told me that I'm so stubborn? The goddess in my heart has always been the same one. Sebastian's eyes were inscrutable and he smiled and waved his hand. Brother, there's no need to explain. I didn't take it to heart. Mia bit her lip and held Sebastian's arm even more closely. I did intercept the love letter, but it was for Arya's studies, not for any other reason. Don't be so self-absorbed. Ethan smiled. All right, even if I'm being self-absorbed. What do you mean by even if? Okay, Mia, it's cold outside. Let's go home. After getting in the car, I looked puzzled. Why are you here? I've been keeping an eye on Sebastian. When I saw him coming here, I happened to see you by chance. I just mentioned to you 2 days ago that I suspected him of stealing commercial secrets, and you started following him? It's not that serious, is it? Of course not. I suspect that he's also related to other cases. I can't say much about this. I understood. But Officer Ethan, you can investigate as you like, but don't use the past as an excuse next time. Ethan didn't say anything. Finally, he drove the car to the entrance of a flower shop. I didn't use you as an excuse. What I said was true. I still didn't get the flowers because the flower shop had already closed. He felt a bit regretful. I'll come earlier tomorrow. This flower shop is for sale. Then I'll buy from another flower shop. No need. Arya, are you being understanding or gently refusing me? His eyes were clear and I smiled. Neither. Then, when the case is closed, give me this flower shop. We missed the whole youth and also missed the last life. In this life, I don't want to miss it again. The next day at work, Mia was late. She usually loved wearing short skirts but today she was wearing long pants instead. There were bruises on her wrists. When colleagues asked her what happened, she quickly covered them up. Oh, it's nothing. I accidentally fell down the stairs. The same injury. But it was much lighter than mine. In my last life, Sebastian gave me villas and mansions. I thought that just because I called 120, he didn't need to do this. Unexpectedly, he later held roses to confess his love to me. I flatly refused. Sorry for being so abrupt. As a return, can I at least treat you to a meal? If I didn't accept the meal, he wouldn't give up, so I agreed. That day we went to a Korean restaurant. I just took a small sip of rice wine and got drunk. He offered to send me home, but I didn't agree. That day, when I was walking back to my community in a daze, I was stopped by a strange man. His words were full of filth, and he came over and pulled me. I didn't know what happened at that time and lost consciousness. The next day, I woke up in Sebastian's villa. My whole body was injured, and I felt a tearing pain in my lower body. I still remember Sebastian's look of distress. I was late. I didn't know where your home was, so I brought you here. He also took me to the police station to report the case proactively. It was dark, and I couldn't remember the man's face. No abnormal substances were detected in my body, and the case was put on hold. This incident once made me on the verge of collapse. It was Sebastian's tireless and gentle care that gradually made me better. Oh, why can't the computer turn on? Mia looked anxious. The system was damaged. All the plans that had been worked on for a month were gone. President Sebastian slapped the table and flew into a rage. As the person in charge, don't you even have the basic sense of making backups? There are only 2 days left. The person in charge of the Huahai project wants the plan. You figure out a way. If this project can't be won, you all get out of here. Of course, Mia wasn't afraid of being fired, but I needed this job. After the lunch break, Mia asked for leave on the pretext of not feeling well. She looked apologetic. Arya, it's all my bad luck. I fell down yesterday and crashed the system today. I still remember some of the plan. I'll stay up late to work on it tonight. No need. You can't finish it in 2 days. Take good care of yourself. I'll come up with a simple plan on my side. Of course, I knew that she would give the plan to Sebastian, so I secretly followed her under the pretext of going out for research. Mia found a tattoo parlor and had the tattoo with Ethan's name on it removed. When she saw me when she came out, she was startled. Why are you here? Looking at the swelling on her arm, I couldn't help asking, Mia, is he really worth it? To be honest, I hated Mia because she was the one who killed me. But actually, even if she hadn't harmed me that day, I didn't want to live either. Sebastian was a pervert. His so-called kindness was suffocating. He controlled me and forced me. I lived like a walking corpse. That day, I wanted to tell her that I couldn't bear it anymore, but I didn't expect that she would take action. We were really good friends when we were at school. Her mother died when she was very young, and she was abused by her stepmother and couldn't even have enough to eat. We were deskmates, and when I gave her some food, she regarded me as her best friend. She didn't hide her innermost thoughts from me and was willing to show me her wounds. It was just that at that time, the classmates in our class compared us. Those who were jealous of my good grades blew some rumors. They said that I made friends with her just to feel superior. She didn't believe it. Later, Ethan often played with us. When she saw that Ethan had feelings for me and in the ignorance of youth, she began to secretly compare herself with me, and then it got out of control. In fact, whenever I was in trouble or encountered difficulties, she was always duty-bound to help. I think she was willing to suffer together with me. It was just that her self-esteem and pride made her unable to accept that I lived a better life than her. Was it from the fall or did Sebastian hit you? Mia immediately shook off my hand and laughed. What do you want to hear? That Sebastian abused me? Forced me to wash off the tattoo? Watched me cry and beg to break up? That would really disappoint you. Sebastian is handsome, rich, and gentle. He's just a bit wild in bed. Isn't it all because he loves me? I enjoy it. I like it. I washed off the tattoo voluntarily. Am I clear enough? She waved the car key in her hand. Many people would sell their kidneys just for an iPhone. I just got a little hurt. With all these things I have now, seeing how jealous you look, and with my stepmother and younger brother flattering me, isn't it worth it? Arya, I'm telling you, don't think you know everything. It's not a good thing to be so self-righteous. Come on, take my car? Let me give you a ride? I shook my head. Since that was the case, there was no need to say more. I went to the police station. Ethan walked me out with a solemn look on his face. For helping me catch Sebastian, you don't even care about your future? I smiled and looked at him. Yeah. So how are you going to repay me? There's no way to repay you. I'll take care of you. His tone was relaxed, but his face was full of determination. Mainly, I don't want to marry into a wealthy family. He caught up with me. What are you talking about? Marry into a wealthy family? My parents have liked you since we were kids. I was stunned. Otherwise, how would I dare to always invite you to play at my home? Otherwise, why haven't they urged me to get married in all these years? His colleague passed by, and I felt a bit embarrassed and looked at my watch. I still have to go back and clock in. Let's stop talking. 2 days later, at the investment promotion meeting of Huahai Group, several major media companies all volunteered themselves. President Sebastian was frowning as he held the project that his colleagues had worked on overnight. He looked at his nephew Sebastian in front of him, feeling a mix of emotions. After all, he was the child of his half-brother. It would be quite embarrassing if he couldn't compete with a younger generation. President Sebastian thought that it wouldn't matter if he just showed his willingness to give in at that time. Losing a big project was really a pity. When he went back, he must give the employees a good scolding. Listening to Sebastian talking eloquently, everyone was full of admiration. Just when it was President Sebastian's turn, the door of the conference room was pushed open. A young police officer and a young girl walked in. I walked in slowly under everyone's gaze. Ethan sat on the sofa and waved at the person in charge of Huahai. It's okay. You guys continue chatting. I'll just watch the fun. I put the file bag in front of President Sebastian. What's this? Sorry for being late. This is our real plan. President Sebastian was confused. He opened the file bag. There were exquisite drawings, detailed CAD construction drawings, advertising posters. It included the operation plan of the amusement park, holiday event plans, everything. After reading the plan, everyone nodded in praise, and the person in charge of Huahai also clapped his hands. As expected of the #1 media company. This planning plan is meticulous and comprehensive. Of course. In my last life, I hardly slept well for a month because of this project. In this life, I was afraid that Mia would do something, so I prepared a set of plans. What Mia deleted was just my plan B. The person in charge of Huahai immediately made a decision and cooperated with President Sebastian. The people in the conference room left. Ethan directly blocked Sebastian's way. This is the original video I took in the private room of the bar. Are these the people on it, you and your girlfriend? And this document is the original document of your planning plan. Where did your plan come from? Mia copied the database from the computer. She also deleted all the information in the computer. She thought that I didn't have any evidence. But in fact, the original file of Plan B was in my personal laptop. Come on, let's go to the police station for a chat? Sebastian's father personally apologized to his elder brother. In the end, President Sebastian still chose to forgive his nephew. However, President Sebastian, both openly and secretly, still made the reputation of Guangda Group stink. On the other hand, instead of blaming Mia, Sebastian even bailed her out. Ethan was surprised. It seems that he really loves Mia. I didn't expect this either. However, after this incident, the company fired her. And not long after that, she blocked me. I thought that she had chosen her own path. As for her as a friend, from the moment I was reborn, I never thought of being friends with her again. In fact, things should have ended here. But a month later, I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. Because I had brought honor to President Sebastian, my salary was doubled. Ethan insisted that I treat him to a meal. We were having a great time eating when suddenly an unknown call came. It was Mia. Her voice was trembling. Arya, help me. There's no one else who can help me. I wanted to break up with Ethan yesterday. He said he'd take me to have the last meal. Just now, I overheard that he was going to sell me abroad. Tonight. Suddenly, there were slapping sounds and crying from the other end of the phone. Mia, why did you betray me? Why did you leave me? Why? Hearing this voice made me tremble. The phone was hung up. Ethan called the police station and asked them to locate the place where Mia's call came from and check the flight information. Arya, not only is Mia a victim, but I also suspect that Sebastian is related to the death of his first love. Ethan didn't hide it from me anymore. Then I knew. 8 years ago, Sebastian's first love girlfriend was found dead, naked, in the private room of a KTV. There were more than 10 kinds of substances in her body. In other words, his first love was, by more than 10 people before she died. As the boyfriend of the deceased, Sebastian sued those people and they were sentenced to death. But we just ignored Sebastian's part. Moreover, Sebastian's mother has a mental illness. He has always appeared normal to the outside world, so no one suspected whether he was ill or not. Many pieces of information were connected together. Suddenly, I remembered the thick stack of photos in my last life. I know where it is. I'll go with you. In the interrogation room, Ethan interrogated according to the clues I provided. In the end, Sebastian confessed everything about his first love's death. He was no longer the gentleman he used to be but looked ferocious. I don't understand. Why did they all leave me? I'm rich, powerful, and good-looking. Why, just like my mother after saving me, they left me. Mainly because you're sick. Ethan was outspoken. Should people with illnesses be abandoned? They all deserve to die. They all deserve to die, but I don't understand. How did you know that there was a basement in the villa where I was? Ethan shook his head and walked out. In my last life, I was threatened and abused by an anonymous person. I was a bit mentally broken. When I was recuperating in the villa, I accidentally discovered the basement. I found that there were not only my nude photos in it but also a stack of photos of a young girl. At that time, I didn't know who she was. I just thought Sebastian was terrifying. I proposed to break up with him. He crazily bumped me against the wall, dragged me from the bathroom to the bedroom, then threw me into the basement. I didn't eat for 3 days. I told him I was wrong and that I shouldn't have proposed to break up. He hugged me and cried and forgave me. He monitored me when I went to work, and I also received threats with anonymous nude photos. Then I realized that everything that night was arranged by him. He was a pervert, a control freak. He had the abnormal mentality of destroying the prey if he couldn't get it. Fortunately, Mia was rescued in time. Although she survived, she could no longer have children. Ethan and I went to see her. Mia no longer had her glamorous look and was pale. When she saw us walking in together, she looked up at me. Arya, I've been wondering these days. Why did you find me in the basement? Just now, I suddenly realized. You were also reborn, right? Ethan frowned. Reborn? Are you out of your mind? I asked him to wait for me outside. I won't leave. Ethan looked stubborn. Come on. Don't worry. She won't do anything to me. Ethan gave me lots of instructions. Then I'll be outside. Call me if anything happens. There were only the two of us left in the room. Mia grabbed my arm, her eyes bloodshot. Arya, why did you do this to me? I looked straight at her. Tell me, what did I do to you? She looked unwilling. Since you knew that Sebastian was a pervert, why didn't you tell me? I sneered. Didn't I tell you? But did you listen? You've always been like this. You're only willing to believe what I say when you experience it yourself. When we were at school, I played a piano piece at the school party. You begged me to teach you. I told you that practicing the piano was hard and you needed to be patient. You thought I didn't want to teach you and were angry with me. On your birthday, I used my New Year's money from 3 years to buy you an electronic piano. As a result, you only learned one sentence after a week of learning. You cried and told me that your stepmother had smashed the piano, but your stepmother said that you had sold it. When we were young and ignorant, you had a crush on our class monitor. He was good at studying and kind-hearted. I encouraged you to study hard and strive to meet at the top. You thought studying was hard and asked me if I had a boy I liked. I told you that Ethan was nice but loved to fight and that I wanted to talk about feelings after graduation. As a result, you changed your direction and couldn't stop talking about Ethan, and even intercepted the love letter he gave me. She interrupted me, I just wanted a good life. Was I wrong? I looked at her, then what did I do wrong? You accompanied me to look for a job. When you saw the good job treatment, you rushed to the interview first. When you saw that Sebastian gave me luxury cars and villas, you were jealous and killed me. What did I do wrong? In this life, you rushed to save him first. I respected the choice you wanted. What did I do wrong? You have no self-confidence, you want to prove that you're not worse than me, and you regard me as an enemy. What did I do wrong? Of course, I was wrong. I was wrong in always regarding you as a friend. I just want to tell you one thing. Everything about you wasn't caused by me. It was all your own choice. Mia was in tears, murmuring, it's not like this. It's not like this. Then what was it like? Anyway, it didn't matter to me anymore. When I walked out of the hospital, the midday sun was extremely bright. Ethan was also very curious. So I really want to ask, how did you know that Sebastian would be there? I smiled, I said that I died once and came back reborn. Do you believe it? I thought he would dismiss it and complain that I was joking. Unexpectedly, he was silent for a while and finally raised his head firmly. I believe you. I believe everything you say. Then give me a chance to protect you in this life. Okay? I gave him a disdainful look and turned around to leave. Look at you. You're ignoring me and walking so fast. Didn't someone promise to buy out the flower shop for me? Did you forget? So, you agreed to me? Hurry up. If the flower shop is gone, I'll go back on my word. He quickly caught up with me and hugged me in his arms. Then you don't have a chance to go back on your word. Ethan looked a bit shy. That flower shop, I bought it out.